Hey everyone, I could think of no better way to start these papers than saying, Welcome to the Elitists. Whether or not you decide to listen or read the paper all the way through is entirely up to you. We are honored that you and others would even read or listen to our research in the first place. We hope that you gain a new understanding of Cosmos from this paper, but even if you don't, hopefully it gives you a fresh perspective on the project. But before we get started, we want to say that none of this is investment advice, and you should always do your research before buying any asset. These elitist papers will discuss why and how Atom and the Cosmos blockchain extract value from the Cosmos ecosystem. Our goal is to provide an overview of each extraction method, starting from what it does and ending on why Atom benefits. First, we'd like to introduce ourselves. Like I said earlier, we are the elitists. Elitist traditionally means that a select few should lead a society or system. Our objective is to make you an elitist and democratize the word, giving it from the top back to the bottom. Through these papers and other papers in the future, we intend to educate ordinary people, like ourselves, to become the elite, but not the elite few, the elite many. Before the dawn of the Industrial Revolution, a few people with the most power, aka money, owned the most prominent businesses, and even now, this power structure still exists. But with the introduction of blockchain, we are entering a new revolution, one that democratizes the power of corporations and city-states. We ask, why can't you, the people that have historically been on the bottom of the structure, not be an elitist in a system that is trending towards bottom up? You can. The old elitists had their time to rule corporations, banks, and governments, but the new many elitists will take their place. Our goal is to create a place where many elites control the historic few, and we aspire to execute this vision by educating the masses. To give some background, the elitists are either working part-time jobs during the day or full-time university students. This paper is the culmination of hundreds of hours of research, writing, and finalizing. All of this we are giving to you for free because we believe in the elitist mission. With that said, doing all this work while working jobs and going to school was challenging, and if you'd like to donate, the Atom-only wallet address for the elitists will be linked below. We just want to be clear, you will not receive anything from donating, and we aren't putting any pressure on you to do so. We just want people to read our research, discuss it, and enjoy it. We could care less about the money, because we love and are fascinated by distributed ledger technology. The last thing we have to say in this intro is, we know we are wrong in this paper in many ways. It's just a matter of how wrong. If you think we've made a mistake, we want to know. Please email or tweet us at the handles below. Thanks. Enjoy. To begin, we'll give some background on the internet as it can be a helpful analogy when discussing blockchain. Far back in time, in what some consider a distant galaxy of 1969, the ARPANET was created by the Department of Defense. The ARPANET was considered the first network, and soon worldwide other networks started to pop up. Each of these networks did different things, had different use cases, and had dissimilar development software. To use, let's say, Oxford's network, you would have to go to Oxford and build whatever you wanted on that platform. Building on each network was highly inefficient and added a high barrier of entry to development. Before the protocol we will mention in the coming paragraphs, all these networks were OR statements. Essentially, you could use ARPANET or OxfordNet. The need arose for these networks to intercommunicate. The desire for intercommunication emerged from the question, why can't we talk or transfer data between two networks at once? If there were some way to transfer data across networks, it would open up all kinds of access. This intercommunication would eliminate the barrier to using networks and create a greater development ease of use option for businesses and people alike. The answer to the question stated above is the TCP/IP, or Transmission Control Protocol Internet Protocol. The TCP/IP connected to each siloed network, taking what used to be cities that couldn't talk to each other and adding roads to connect them all. Pretty cool. TCP/IP took a decentralized amount of information and centralized it for anyone in the world to theoretically access. In other words, more fancy words, it took a heterogeneous amount of information and homogenized it. Eventually, the World Wide Web would come with this homogenization, which allowed ordinary people like you and us to access this vast data space. All we need to know is that the protocol opens so many doors to developing networks, network use cases, and personal use cases. Great. You're probably saying, I get it. The protocol was revolutionary, but aren't you supposed to be talking about my favorite altcoin Doge and not some protocol? Hang in there. We're just beginning. Now let's make our analogy, and at the end of this, you're going to be saying, wow, like Owen Wilson. Bitcoin's genesis block occurred in 2009. We can look at Bitcoin like ARPANET. It was the first ever network, and Bitcoin is the first ever successful blockchain. Soon after 2009, the genesis block of Ethereum occurred in 2015. In 2015, we had two blockchains that each did different things with independent use cases. Like our example with OxfordNet and ARPANET, these two blockchains were and still are OR statements. In the ensuing years of 2015, akin to the 1970s with its network growth, we have more blockchains than we can count. Now, there are many chains with separate use cases from Solana to Polkadot to Avalanche to ADA, but guess what? The same problem that the different networks were running into in the 1970s are the same problems blockchains are snagging on today. The world is not built off of OR statements, as some may believe, but instead is created by AND statements. A human can do good and evil. A network can be fast and secure. A blockchain can be a store of value and a dog. You get the point. The blockchains today, of which there are hundreds or thousands, are isolated to their cities with no roads to allow for inter-city commerce or information. Currently, you can either build/use an altcoin on Bitcoin or make/use a DApp on the EVM or a DApp on Solana or a parachain on Polkadot. However, one cannot use the data from a DApp on the EVM or Solana and a parachain on Polkadot in a single place. But what if you could use Bitcoin and Ethereum or Solana and Polkadot at the same time? This would create a greater development option, blockchain use cases, and personal use cases. But let's not stop there. What if you could use information from multiple blockchains at once in one place that would allow you to create a single blockchain that has infinitely more development space than one lone siloed chain ever could? Wait for it. Enter IBC, otherwise known as Inter-Blockchain Communication Protocol. So now, in the macro sense, we've established that the intercommunication for blockchain is just as necessary as it was and is for the networks of 1970. The internetwork could not exist without the TCP/IP, just as eventually the interchain could not exist without the IBC protocol. IBC currently connects all Tendermint-based chains together, but is blockchain agnostic. If you don't understand what agnosticism is, it essentially means that the protocol can connect to any chain. In future papers, we will explore the difference between XCMP, IBC, Optic, CCIP, AVAX bridges, and many other bridges. But for now, we're going to meander back to IBC. We can now see in theory and practice a blockchain can use cross-chain information from multiple other chains in a single place. Let's have a little fun though. With cross-chain information and IBC, we could create a single chain that uses data from a DApp on Solana and a parachain on Polkadot. And how about information from Chainlink or Band Protocol? Boom, bam, big massive explosions are going off in your head. I get it. It's pretty amazing. In our mind here at Elitists, we don't believe. It's a certainty that blockchain interoperation will come. It's only a matter of when and with whom. We think that Cosmos will be the first of these interoperable ecosystems, but that doesn't mean there isn't room for more. We feel there will be 2 to 4 major interoperable ecosystems and chains. In future papers, we will discuss why we think the Cosmos ecosystem will win the interop war, what other interop ecosystems we think will join them, the difference between bridges, how old internet data on hosts, networks, and nodes could predict interchain growth, and finally, how to value the atom and Cosmos ecosystem through Metcalfe's law, Gaussian distributions, log normal variables, log normal distributions, and regression models. Also, eventually, we'd like to branch out to writing about other chains. We know, ambitious, right? But for now, we will focus on Atom from a vague long-term investment standpoint that makes a lot of assumptions. To restate, the topic of this paper will be mainly about the Cosmos ecosystem and how the Cosmos blockchain/Atom attain, accrue, and extract value. First, let's establish that Cosmos ecosystem is separate from Cosmos the blockchain. We observe that the Cosmos ecosystem is where network effect occurs, and the Cosmos blockchain is trying to extract value from that effect. We're going to deviate a little bit and then come back to Cosmos B extraction methods later. A precursory glance at Metcalfe's law states that a network value is proportional to the square number of nodes or users in the network. In other words, as the number of users or nodes goes up, so does the utility and value. This is known as a network effect. We can see that the key to valuing any network effect is the number of users accessing and utilizing the network. It gets a little more complicated to value the Cosmos ecosystem, which from now on we will refer to as Cosmos E, and Cosmos the blockchain, which from now on we will refer to as Cosmos B. It gets difficult because Cosmos E users are considered the blockchains that connect through IBC. In our application, we say that as the numbers of blockchains connected goes up, Cosmos E's network utility/worth increases. With that stated, we could also similarly claim that as the number of connected users goes up, Cosmos E network utility/worth increases as well. Amazing, fabulous, I can hear you. How do you make that stack of Benjamins? Well, what a superb question from our anonymous internet friend our moms told us not to talk to. Unfortunately, you cannot invest in Cosmos E. You can only invest in the blockchains on Cosmos E that extract value from the network effect. The question should be, which chain will extract the most value? And we will revisit that later. So far, we have said that Cosmos E has its own network utility and worth that is separate from Cosmos B. We can look at Facebook as a modern example of a network like Cosmos E. Facebook's, sorry, we mean Meta's app gains value when more people join the network, but Facebook, the company, does not make any money from that value created from the network effect. It extracts value through ads and selling your data, but we're just going to ignore that. Facebook's ecosystem or app will always be worth more than Facebook the company because an entity can only extract so much value from a network effect. While Facebook the company is valued at around 800 billion, Facebook the app has a network value that is far greater than the company's market cap. Maybe something around 4 trillion, assuming Facebook attains 20% of its network utility. As a rule of thumb, the network utility value, which we will call NUV, is always larger than the value that can be extracted from the network. The network utility value is the total value of the whole Cosmos E. After briefly skipping over massive privacy infringements from Facebook and not talking about how Zucky wears so much sunscreen, we can now relate this to Cosmos. To be clear, we're not relating the privacy infringement part or the sunscreen part. We're talking about how Cosmos E has a network utility value from which Cosmos B derives its value, and thus the atom. Cosmos E is like Facebook the app, and Cosmos B is similar to Facebook the company. With our rule about network utility value always being larger than the extracted value, we can deduce that the Cosmos E will always be bigger than the Cosmos B. If only we could capture some of that juicy NUV. We're about to explain the value capture, but first we must briefly talk about Cosmos E health and advantages. Cosmos E is the first to offer an intercommunication protocol that is actually live. Polkadot. Being first is usually important, but it becomes even more critical for network effect ecosystems. As the sooner you start, the quicker the network can reach a critical mass where growth begets more growth. But in order for the network to reach critical mass, it must be scalable enough to get there. Polkadot. Continuing, Cosmos E is horizontally scalable, allows for sovereign chains, gravity bridges, has the Cosmos SDK, ABCI, and future ABCI++, Tendermint BFT, application-specific blockchains, or ASCs, interchain accounts, Starport, Sagan, instant finality, and not to mention, has IBC. We're not going to explain why this list makes the ecosystem competitive here in this paper. It is easy to say that the Cosmos E is super competitive and offers solutions to the tri-blockchain dilemma that no other ecosystem could offer due to IBC. Cosmos E is one of the most compelling interop and DApp ecosystems out there. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves and invest our life savings into Atom. Remember, the Cosmos ecosystem is different from the Cosmos blockchain, and Atom is the asset that exposes you to the Cosmos products. The Tendermint teams and many others have done incredible game-changing work on the Cosmos E to make it compelling, but the Atom has lagged. This makes sense because the Atom wouldn't be worth anything if the Cosmos E wasn't great. Imagine building a blockchain and not making sure it's secure, and then offering a token for that chain. One shouldn't buy this token due to the health of the network or ecosystem being what the token derives its value from. But we know that the Cosmos E is incredibly healthy and secure ecosystem that is filled with a breadth of development potential that is all a result of horizontal scalability, sovereign chains, gravity bridges, the Cosmos SDK, ABCI, future ABCI++, Tendermint BFT, ASCs, interchain accounts, Starport, Sagan, Instant Finality, and IBC. Wow. Told you Owen Wilson would come back. We were repeating ourselves, yes, but it's so essential that the ecosystem is healthy and fraught with potential in order for any coin to derive value. After that very long deviation, we can now return to Cosmos B and its extraction methods. Remember, we're imagining that all these methods exist. Cosmos B/Atom pull value from the Cosmos E through hub routing, interchain security, interlayered security, Emeris, Gravity Dex, which hopefully will be eventually off-chain, Gravity Bridge, which hopefully will be on-chain, interchain accounts, chain naming service, staking derivatives, and finally, arguably the most important method, Atom as the base money. But first, we have to talk about the Atom utility, which from now on we will call AU. The atom is an asset. It benefits from more utility, or in other words, more use. The atom price is proportional to the atom utility. The more things that use the atom to secure, process, reward, or anything else, increase the atom utility and thus the atom price. Before you message us mean comments, we know that there is significant problems in imagining the list of features above exists, and we will address those in time. To emphasize once more, as of December 21, 2021, and now January 2022, some of these projects exist or are in beta, but most of them are still a work in progress. We are treating them like they exist to analyze problems and potential. Stick with us and keep an open mind, please. Pushing ahead to Atom and Cosmos B value accrual, we will run straight into the tunnel and start with background on hub routing. Then secondly, we will speak to the short-term advantages of the router and why it will be used. Thirdly, issues with the router. Fourthly, the solutions to those issues and current long-term advantages. And fifthly, how the hub router accumulates value to Atom and Cosmos E. The hub router currently routes ICS 20 and coming soon ICS 27, 29, and 30 packets through the Cosmos ecosystem and will eventually charge some sort of fee to do this service. We will call this routing as a service, or RAAS, and it's the first of its kind for blockchain. Quick side note, relayers are like validators except that they route information and packets instead of validating information and transactions. The hub router will incentivize the relayers by giving them a portion of this fee that is taken from the packet. This uses self-interest to propagate network efficiency, which is pretty cool. The other portion of the fee that isn't taken by the relayers will be put into the Cosmos community pool and distributed to Atom holders. In the short term, 1 to 2 years, the hub router is an excellent extraction method and will hold its competitive advantage as the barrier of entry into the routing as a service model is the code and implementation, the ease of access to the Cosmos ecosystem, and the introduction of new IBC bridges outside the Cosmos E. Concerning ease of access to Cosmos E, the current state of affairs is as follows. Every chain has its own relayers/archive nodes and connects to every other chain it wants to utilize, which also has to run its own relayers and archive nodes. This works well enough for the Cosmos E of 20 chains, but eventually when we reach 100 or 1,000 chains using IBC, this will become very strenuous for each blockchain to connect to every other while handling all the routing and nodes. The hub router is a vital part of the Cosmos E because it allows easy access to the whole ecosystem through one point. To elaborate on how the introduction of new IBC bridges outside the Cosmos E creates a short-term competitive advantage, we need to look no further than Beefy Light Client. Composable Finance has been working on a bridge efficiency enabling finality yielder, which will set the stage for Dotsama IBC substrate bridge, allowing for seamless cross-chain communication and asset transfer. Composable Finance is among many other organizations such as Informal Systems, Octopus Network, Strangelove Ventures, working on IBCRS, IBC Substrate, and IBC Go. The Substrate IBC bridge from Cosmos to Picasso and Cosmos to eventually Polkadot are the first examples of IBC being used outside the Cosmos E. Unlike setting up and using IBC across Tendermint chains, to connect chains outside the Cosmos E, light client/IBC support must be created on both the Cosmos and chain X. Adding this light client/IBC implementation and then adding a new relayer/archive node connect for all the Polkadot parachains and Cosmos application specific chains will be an extremely inefficient use of time. We are starting to get into the use case of the hub router. Instead of direct connections to all chains across both ecosystems, what if you only had to manage one relayer and archive node and connect to one place that allowed for intercommunication across the whole interchain? We can imagine a world where Polkadot and Avalanche and many other fast finality blockchains have connected through IBC and have their own light client/IBC implementations. From that, we receive a genuine use case for chains outside of each Cosmos ecosystem, of each ecosystem to route through the hub and not directly connect using IBC. As a tangential point, each blockchain doesn't have to route through the hub, which is a curse and a blessing to the atom, to be honest. The freedom of choice here puts network growth before atom value, as it should. Nonetheless, the two topics above make a strong point as to why blockchains will join the router. We will soon explain how the atom indirectly benefits from network utility value growth, even if some chains decide not to route through the hub router. In sum, the short-term advantage of the hub router is barrier of entry into the routing as a service model, of code/implementation, ease of access to the Cosmos E, and the introduction of new IBC bridges outside the Cosmos E. But that barrier of entry of the code/implementation, ease of use, and adding light client/IBC implementations will not be a long-term durable competitive advantage. As investors, we want a long-term durable competitive advantage. Hang in there. We're just getting up to a slow jog. I'm tripping over my words, but let's continue. Picking up the pace and diverting onto a different path, we examine the issues and a long-term durable competitive advantage of the router. We will first discuss why the hub router in the long term is eroding. Second, we will talk about how we could stop the erosion. And third, what durable long-term advantages the hub router currently has and what could be added in the future. Okay, our hub router is eroding in the long term. Why? In the world of blockchain and crypto, decentralization is all the rage these days. Kind of like a young teen going through the heavy metal music phase and telling their parents it's not a phase. Well, decentralization isn't a phase, Mom. It's a way of life. If there is one hub router that routes 50% of the packets for the whole interchain and Cosmos ecosystem, and it theoretically goes down, we've just created the most significant central point of failure ever. This simply cannot be allowed to happen. One solution to this problem is making the hub-routed tokens fungible with direct routing. This means that relayers can create direct routes if the Cosmos hub goes down. Another solution is competition. Competition would result in two different routers that have similar use cases. This would solve the problem of decentralization because there could be 6 or more routers for interchain or the Cosmos ecosystem, but would conceive a new problem, competition. Jeff Bezos said, "Your margin is my opportunity," and it applies to the routing as a service model. We can imagine a world where multiple routers exist, and these entities all compete to relay packets. This competing will drive commission take rates down and up the relayer/community rewards due to each router trying to receive the greatest number of packets while building value for token holders. Each blockchain would undercut the other, and in doing so, undercut the Cosmos hub. This undercut would drive transactions outside the hub router, and thus a loss of utility for the atom. In time, commission take rates would be forced to zero, and the hub router would be like every other router out there. At Elitists, we're not ones to bring up problems without offering solutions. So how do we fix this? Or is it already fixed? The Robinhood model and Emeris are two durable long-term advantages of the hub router that partially fix the competition problem. The Robinhood model applied to the routing as a service works something like this. The higher volume a company has, the lower take rate it can offer, ultimately leading to such low take rates that a new company couldn't compete. Essentially, when applied to the router, you're raising the barrier of entry by lowering the fee and upping the commission to the community/relayer pools while still making the same because of high volume. This disincentivizes undercutting because new routers don't have a high enough volume to offer the same returns to relayers/communities while providing lower fees to connected blockchains. The second durable long-term advantage is Emeris. To give a very brief overview, Emeris could be the one-stop shop to access the Cosmos E, and we will explain more on that later. If Emeris does become the place to communicate and transact across the Cosmos E, and possibly the interchain, it would most likely route its packets through the hub router, but that's just speculation. Theoretically, even if there is computation to the router, it wouldn't matter because Emeris would automatically route the packets through the hub. And we understand this is a very optimistic view. While both these advantages above are great, we still think there is room for improvement. Osmosis takes cross-chain token liquidity and turns it into a network externality. Chains say we want to use Osmosis because they have a ton of liquidity, resulting in a flywheel. Is there any way to use cross-chain information liquidity to make a long-term, durable, sticky competitive advantage, or a way to create CCIL into a network externality? Our ideas are as follows. The way to take CCIL into a long-term, sticky, durable competitive advantage is to create a loyalty program for application-specific chains and say if you route in total 10 packets, 100, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million packets, and so on, you'll receive a lower take rate. Or to turn CCIL into a network externality, we could say that as each chain routes more packets through, the total take rates drop. Although the second idea would disproportionately benefit small chains as they would have to route fewer packets or do less work and still benefit from bigger chains routing packets. But the first idea would lock smaller chains out of receiving lower rates for routing through the hub router. These are just ideas and there are problems with both of them, but we figured we should offer an answer to the question we posed. To recap and refocus, the hub router will be used because of ease of access to the Cosmos E and ease of use/efficiency for blockchains. In the short term, the router is a great extraction method and will hold its competitive advantage as the barrier to entry into the routing as a service model is the code/implementation and the introduction of new IBC bridges outside the Cosmos E. But in the long term, centralization poses a risk. This problem can be solved through fungibility between the hub routed/direct routed tokens and multiple routers. Then computation poses another threat to eroding atom value. These issues can be solved through the Robinhood model, Emeris, loyalty programs, and creating CCIL into a network externality. Finally, we can bridge it all into how atom accrues value through the hub router and network utility value growth. Alrighty, we're now starting to get into the fun part. Network economics states a network or product becomes more valuable as the network/product operates on a larger scale. Metcalfe's law in our application states that as the number of blockchains that join the ecosystem increases, so does the network utility value. As the number of application-specific chains increases, so does the number of IBC transactions. While it's not proportional, it is a direct correlation. We can extrapolate how the atom attains value with this relatively safe assumption. As the number of ASCs joining and already on the network increases, so does the network utility value, and so does the number of IBC transactions. As application-specific chains present and joining go up, network utility value goes up. If ASC goes up, then IBC transactions go up. As IBC transactions increase, then total routed packets go up. As TRP goes up, the number of hub routed packets go up. As the number of HRP go up, the greater the rewards to atom holders/relayers. As rewards go up, then atom utility for holding atom increases. As atom utility increases, the demand for the atom goes up. As demand goes up, the atom price goes up. The network utility value is entirely separate from the price of Atom, just as Facebook, the company, is separate from Facebook, the app. While Atom isn't a part of network utility value, people would be wrong to say Atom isn't directly tied to the ecosystem, as demonstrated above in our syllogism. Referring back to our original topic of how Atom obtains, accrues, and extracts value through the hub routing, we can now say it most certainly does. Alrighty. If you're still here, good job. getting through Chapter 2 and Chapter 1 and the Prelude. We're now going to progress on to Chapter 3, Bridges, and how they drive value to the Cosmos ecosystem, Cosmos blockchain, and the atom. The Gravity Bridge is different from bridges on AVAX and many other bridges in that it's secured by a validator set and eventually secured through interchain security with the Cosmos Hub. This makes the bridge decentralized and trustworthy. More so, the bridge is slightly agnostic and currently will be used for Ethereum, but in the future could be used for Polygon and Binance as well. The introduction of the bridge will instantly increase the overall liquidity for the whole Cosmos ecosystem. Liquidity will ripple through the entire ecosystem, and most likely, a good chunk of it upon introduction will go to osmosis. I know what you're thinking. How can Atom attain value from this? The best part about the bridge is that it can be used through Emeris, as well as many other platforms, and guess what? The transactions through Emeris may go through the hub router, like we spoke earlier on. Not to mention, the fees on Gravity Bridge could be paid in Atom, but also could be paid in its native token Grav. It was actually really hard to get information on the bridge, so we could be wrong. But if the fees are paid in Atom, this enforces a base currency agenda, which we'll speak to later. But if they aren't, interchain security is another big step for the Cosmos Hub to secure Gravity Bridge. Simply put, as the Gravity Bridge is used more, that means an increase in hub-routed packets, as explained at the end of Chapter 2. An increase in hub-routed packets leads to a rise in Atom utility and thus Atom price. If Gravity Bridge opts in for interchain security, that also produces spread for the Atom, as we will be explaining in Chapter 4. To add, in the coming year, 2022, through IBC bridges and other bridges, Cosmos E is connecting to Bitcoin, Celo, Hyperledger, and Harmony. Chapter 4 focuses on one of the biggest value extraction methods for the Atom, security as a service, which is an umbrella term for interchain security and interlayered security. When we use the acronym IS/ILS, we are referring to interchain security and interlayered security. While we will not explain how IS/ILS works, we may in future papers. In this section, we will explore why IS/ILS is competitive in the short term, how IS/ILS works, why IS/ILS is sticky, and how IS/ILS generates revenue for the Atom and thus a long-term durable competitive advantage for Cosmos B. We're not going to explain in depth why a blockchain or ASC would want to enable IS or ILS because we think it's axiomatic. In very short, the reason is more security equals a healthier blockchain. To give an incredibly brief overview of IS/ILS, we can look towards Billy Rennekomp's interview with CryptoCito, where he states that interchain security is a single blockchain broken up into multiple constituent parts with the same validator set. IS/ILS will be the first ever chain to provide security as a service. Since Cosmos B will be the first to offer this service on the Cosmos E, there will be no other choice in the short term if you want your shiny new blockchain secured by cross-chain validation. The short-run competitive advantage of IS/ILS is the code/implementation and being first. While being first is great, it doesn't make IS/ILS sticky as a product. Before talking about how IS is sticky, we must briefly gloss over ILS. Interlayered security is almost like interchain security, except for securing 100% of the application-specific chain at Genesis or near Genesis. ILS can come in post-Genesis and secure 70%, or 35%, or 10% of the ASC. To be clear, ILS is still providing the same security that IS provides, just at a different weight in the blockchain. For example, 30% of Osmosis tokens are staked within their blockchain. And Cosmos B could come along and say, hey there, Osmosis, you ripe fruit, can we secure that other 70% of your chain? Of which Osmosis would certainly say yes to. And then bada bing, bada boom, the Atom now secures 70% of a chain worth $1 billion. In our opinion, once a blockchain joins interchain security and is validated by the Cosmos validator set through CCV, cross-chain validation, it is very unlikely, bar any network health issues, that the ASC will leave. A blockchain wouldn't leave when opting for full interchain security or ILS because it would have to find another chain to secure its network that is more secure aka higher market cap, and offering ILS and IS. Even further, the amount of work it would take to migrate your CCV from Cosmos B to a separate blockchain would be enormous. All of this work needed to migrate makes IS/ILS sticky. Now we're going to pick up to a jog through the city of how does IS/ILS generate revenue for the atom and thus a long-term durable competitive advantage for Cosmos B. That's quite the long city name. When referring to Bitcoin, Tartar and Berninsky state in crypto assets, the more the price goes up and the more transactions are processed, the more likely new computers will be added to help support and secure the network. In turn, the greater hardware support that there is for the network, the more people will trust in its security, thereby driving more people to buy and use the asset. Through the logic above, we can apply how a proof of stake consensus system might be similar. To quickly explain, in a proof of work system, the compute power is equivalent to capital power in proof of stake. When Tartar and Bernisk logic is applied, we get this. The more price goes up and the more transactions are processed, the more rewards delegators and validators receive, the more likely new delegators and validators support the network. In turn, the greater capital power there is for the network, the more people will trust its security, thereby driving more people to buy, use, and secure chains with the asset. In the next paragraphs, we will run through an example of this to better explain how Atom is affected. As Renacom said, a single blockchain is broken up into multiple constituent parts. We ask if a blockchain is more useful when it secures itself or when it secures itself in another chain. We'd argue that the latter drives more utility to the parent chain. IS and ILS increase the Atom utility because Cosmos B can theoretically secure 10 to 20 different chains simultaneously instead of just itself, maybe even more. Atom utility goes up as the number of chains using IS and ILS go up. But why? For example, we will assume Atom secures one chain at 100% or full IS and chain number 2 at 49% with ILS. As transactions go through chain 1 and blocks get added, chain 1 pays a fee in its native asset to Atom delegators and validators. As transactions go through chain 2 and blocks get added to chain 2, 51% of those fees go to chain 2 validator delegator set, and 49% go to the Cosmos B validator delegator set. This gets better though. For proof of stake systems, the network security is proportional to the market capitalization of the native asset. As we discussed earlier, the native asset Atom goes up as Atom utility goes up. As chain 1 and chain 2 transactions/blocks go up, validator use goes up. If validator's use go up, then validator/delegator rewards go up. If validator/delegator rewards go up, then utility for holding Atom goes up. In turn, as Atom utility goes up, then the demand goes up. And if the demand goes up, then Atom price increases. But we don't stop there. As Atom price increases, the market cap does as well. As the market cap goes up, the Cosmos B security goes up. If the Cosmos B security goes up, then there is more interest in Cosmos B securing application-specific chains. As new ASCs interest goes up, more ASCs join IS/ILS. And finally, transactions/block go up. Then the process repeats itself. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. We love a network externality. A network externality is a change in positive benefit that a consumer receives as the number of consumers using it increases. In other words, if individuals/companies consider what networks other people are choosing, a positive network externality may be taking place. For IS/ILS, this externality will result in a durable long-term competitive advantage that concurrently increases market cap and price. This all sounds amazing, but what are the issues? The market cap is the barrier to competing with Cosmos B in interchain security and interlayered security. Once IS/ILS is implemented, hopefully by the end of 2022, a flywheel effect will take place and nothing will stop it. The only two existential threats to this extraction model are that a different chain creates IS/ILS first, or a higher market cap chain offers IS/ILS before Cosmos B bootstraps this program. Even with that said, we think that the name brand value might play a significant factor in using Cosmos B to secure your application specific chain. Trust is a huge intangible asset in crypto. If a chain says it's secured by the Cosmos B, it could create a feeling of security for the user because of purely the name brand. Another incredible intangible asset Cosmos has is the community. But these intangibles are topics for another time. Next, we'll compile all the information about IS/ILS, and then we'll move on to a choppier path. To summarize, Cosmos B's short-term competitive advantage are being first and the code/implementation. The first long-term advantage of interchain security and interlayered security is being sticky. The second long-run edge is Atom utility going up as the number of chains using IS/ILS increases. The third and last is the flywheel effect on price and market cap created by the Atom network externality. All of these will result in a durable long-term competitive advantage for Cosmos B. The risks to IS/ILS success are the completion date and higher market cap blockchains offering the service before Cosmos B establishes the project. Okay, on to chapter 5. We're going to pick up that jog into a run and go down a bumpier path called Atom as the base currency for Cosmos E. Atom as the base currency would drive the absolute most network utility value to the Cosmos B. This extraction method would single-handedly make Atom worth a lot. As explained by Ethan Buchman, the co-founder of Cosmos and CEO of Informal Systems, the Cosmos Hub would be a low-risk, high-security environment with a low number of features. The Atom should be like Bitcoin, but with interoperation. What will support the liquidity of atoms and the dream to become Bitcoin but with interoperation is staking derivatives on the Cosmos Hub. This derivative will unlock 149 million atoms, or $3.5 billion in liquidity, which can't be understated as an important to Atom as base money. We want to repeat ourselves once more. Atom as the base currency captures the most network utility value out of all the methods we have talked about and all the methods we will talk about. But we have seen that the community has been distracted by other projects or just some lack of knowledge on the importance of Atom as base money. To make it clear, Cosmos B and Atom are competing in this ecosystem. It is not some fatalistic prophecy that Atom becomes the base currency or that Cosmos B becomes the center of the Cosmos E. We are in competition for base money from the likes of Terra/UST. So far, we haven't, as a community, stepped up and made Atom as the base money for Cosmos E our priority. It's simple. If we want to make a lot of money holding Atom, then we must change the narrative and focus of our community. We need to create incentives across every DEX within the Cosmos E for people to use Atom in liquidity pools. We need to make deals with other blockchains on the Cosmos E and say we'll route all your packets free of charge for 1 year if you use Atom to pay fees. These are just two ideas, but as a collective that wants to see Atom succeed, and the Cosmos B, and the Cosmos E, we need to act. By the way, you might be asking, if this is the most significant value driver to Atom, why is it the shortest topic? The answer to that is a simple one. Suppose the Atom is used for all fee/gas payments and as base money on every single blockchain across the entirety of the Cosmos E. That creates a metric crap ton of utility for the Atom, which increases the Atom price a sizable amount. We don't feel we need to explain any further, as we address competition, current focus problems, and why Atom as base money would create value for investors. Once more, while most features rely on Tendermint and other companies, the onerous responsibility of Atom as base money relies on us, the community, to make proposals and to stimulate demand. Okay, now that we've gone all preachy on you, we'll return to the televised message. Chapter 6, the Gravity Dex. In Chapter 6, Gravity Dex will talk about how Dex gains a competitive advantage, osmosis, and how it compares to Gravity Dex in the short term and long term, the advantage Gravity Dex may have over other dexes through Emeris, and lastly, how the Gravity Dex drives value to the Atom. Before we dive in, we want to say that we support GDEX moving off the hub and onto a separate chain secured through CCV. A DEX attains a competitive advantage through liquidity, order book depth, incentivization, and, among other things, strong UI/UX. Gravity Dex functions like any other DEX. As order books become deeper and automated market pools become larger, the liquidity incoming and outgoing becomes an advantage. How does the Gravity Dex differ from Osmosis in the short run and long run? It doesn't. Osmosis already won the liquidity war and feature war. Osmosis will have features like interfluid/superfluid staking before Gravity Dex even has incentives enabled for its pools. Osmosis combines new features that other decentralized exchanges don't have, and a great UI/UX, making it a potent competitor to displace. So will Gravity Dex beat Osmosis in the short term? No shot. Can Gravity Dex go for second or third? Absolutely it can. In the short term, the Gravity Dex is just like any other Dex and loses 9 out of 10 times to Osmosis. But in the long term, when it possibly implements a farming module, farming incentives, and interfluid/superfluid staking, it becomes more potent. Someday, most DEXs will have those features. So, in the very long run, the difference between decentralized exchanges will be user experience. This is where Gravity Dex could stand out for one reason. Emeris. The UI/UX on a DEX is incredibly important to the product's usability. But that isn't the only reason that the Gravity Dex could be durably competitive. That reason goes to what Emeris is trying to be. In short, Emeris is striving to be the one-stop shop for using the whole Cosmos E. The durable long-term advantage of GDEX is not the GDEX itself, but the UI/UX, ease of use, goals, and intuitiveness of Emeris. We would be remiss not to mention that Emeris will also support Osmosis, so this long-term advantage may only be personal preference. DEXs will keep users because of the intuitiveness/ease of use of the UI/UX, but the DEX that will win the liquidity war is the one that can onboard the most users and thus the most money/liquidity. From the most optimistic viewpoint, Emeris puts Gravity Dex in a competitive, long-term position to onboard users, as Emeris' goal is to be the central place you access the Cosmos E. To touch on how the Gravity Dex accrues value to the atom, we look to fees, the hub router, and interchain/interlayered security. The Gravity Dex has a currency exchange that charges fees for executing the service. These fees are paid in Atom. And as stated at the beginning of this paper, Atom utility increases when Atom is used for rewards, validation, fees, and many other things. The Atom will benefit from Gravity Dex use due to all the transactions most likely being routed through the hub. The Gravity Dex also could be secured through cross-chain validation, which would create value as well. We already spoke about how these packets routing through the hub and a chain secured through CCV translate into value for the Atom in Chapter 2 and Chapter 4. Refer back to that in the timestamps below if needed. In total, a DEX gains a competitive advantage through liquidity, order book depth, incentivization, and strong UI/UX. Gravity Dex loses out to Osmosis in the short run due to features and liquidity. In the long run, the advantage that GDEX has is Emeris, because it will onboard a good amount of new users and thus increase liquidity. But Osmosis will also be added to Emeris in a different UI or separate link page, and we must take that into account. Ultimately, the Gravity Dex will produce value to the Atom through fees, hub routing, and IS/ILS. If you've gotten this far, props to you. In Chapter 7, Emeris, we will discuss how controlling the UI/UX is usually a recipe for success. What is Emeris? What are Emeris' goals? Why Emeris will be used? Emeris' long-term durable competitive advantage, and how Emeris generates value for the Atom. Some of the biggest companies in the world control the UI for all consumers. Google controls a majority of user experience with the internet. Facebook controls 1 billion people's interactions with social media, and Netflix and YouTube control the main interface for how people consume content. All of these companies are different, but have one thing in common. They control the UI/UX for a huge ecosystem they're accessing. It's reasonable to assume whoever creates a UI/UX that becomes one of the main search engines or initial touch points for the interchain or Cosmos E will be huge. Take an educated guess on who is trying to do this. No, not Polkadot. No, not Solana. Yes, Cosmos. More specifically, Tendermint. This effort to build the UI/UX to access the interchain is called Emeris. Emeris is a wallet and app aggregator for all of Cosmos E. As explained by Peng Zhang in his interview with CryptoCito, with Emeris you could see your balances on Ethereum ecosystem and Cosmos ecosystem all in the same interface. To reinforce, Zhang clarifies, Emeris is a multi-chain app that manages lots of tokens moving through lots of chains, potentially all at the same time. The goal of Emeris is to be one of the main touch points you access the Cosmos C and maybe the interchain. Sounds great. What's the reason you or I would want to use it? In our dream world, IBC connects all the fast finality chains across the whole interchain. Even if it isn't IBC, something will connect all the chains. So we can reasonably imagine a world where multiple blockchains are connected. Now, visualize having to use separate wallets for each of these chains. Maybe by the end of setting up your wallets across the interchain, you have 10 different ones, all with different uses. But the pain in the butt doesn't stop there. In order to access each part of the interchain, you have a wallet, and you have to go to 10 different websites and sign in individually. Let us ask you, who wants to do that? What if there was an easier way to access all 10 wallets? What if there was a more intuitive way to use the whole interchain or Cosmos E? Well, with Emeris, there is. Emeris uses wallet aggregation and interchain accounts to access the entire interchain and Cosmos E in one place. Pretty cool if you ask us. It will be an absolute no-brainer to take your wallets from Ethereum, Polkadot, Solana, and Cosmos and put them all in one place, allowing you to use all your tokens across all DLT at once. The long-term durable competitive advantage of Emeris is controlling the UI/UX, the UI itself, interchain accounts, cross-chain DEX aggregation, and other features on the application. To briefly gloss over risks, execution is one and competition is two. We'll talk more about the risks of all the extraction methods towards the end of this paper. And yes, the YouTube video and paper does end. To finish off Emeris, let's discuss how it accumulates value for Atom. Remember when we said the Gravity Dex and Gravity Bridge will be used through Emeris? Now you may have a better understanding on why Emeris could drive a ton of value through the hub router as a result of interchain accounts, Gravity Bridge or Gravity Dex. But even if it doesn't drive value through the hub router, it'll indirectly drive value to Atom through securing Gravity Bridge and Gravity Dex through IS/ILS. Refer back to chapter 2, 3, and 6 if you need to see how those platforms drive value to Atom. To add once more and finish off, Emeris will be the central place to access all applications within the Cosmos E, and this most likely will drive value to the Atom. We want to take you on a bit of a tangent to mention Atom's two last value creation mechanisms. These two are Cosmos SDK/Starport and CNS chain naming service. Eventually, every chain outside the Cosmos C will be interconnected, and L1s will have the same level of composability, maybe. So what will differentiate them from each other? The ease of development through a software development kit will result in project capture for L1s. In our opinion, the Cosmos SDK is one of the best SDKs out there, and we believe that this will differentiate the Cosmos B and Cosmos E from other chains and ecosystems. This differentiation will result in more development on both Cosmos B/E and thus an increase in NUV and indirectly Atom utility. We wanted to speak to chain naming service, but we had such a hard time finding information on it. Just know that chain naming service increases the ease of use of the Cosmos ecosystem and could drive value to the Atom. After that side note, we enter chapter 8, which discusses chapter 2 through chapter 7, why the Atom has lagged other L1s and L0s, the short/long-term risks to Cosmos E and Cosmos B, all the ways Atom captures value, why the FAT protocol thesis doesn't work for Cosmos E, and why the NUV extraction thesis does. Our first order of business is addressing whether the Atom captures value. As explained from chapter 2 to chapter 7, it does and it will. When people say Atom is worthless, we find their comments distasteful and short-sighted. As if they did their research, they would realize that this is not the case in the future. But yes, currently, the price of Atom is accurately represented for the present day. It seems to us that some people have forgotten that markets are future discounting mechanisms, not present. Yes, as Cosmos B extraction methods/features get added, we will see the Atom lag over the short term. Yes, as the network effect on the Cosmos E is in its infancy, resulting in less NUV to extract, we will see Atom lag. In time, though, when the Cosmos E reaches critical mass and the Atom implements all the extraction methods stated in chapter 2 through chapter 7, the price will reflect it. In the present tense, the market doesn't understand how Atom attains, accrues, and extracts value from the Cosmos E because it's so complex and new. But once this information is democratized and centralized, like how we are trying to do now, we think people will start to see the future value of Atom. In sum, Atom is lagging because of short-sightedness, a lack of understanding, a new network effect, and a need for execution on Atom value creators. To restate for a final time, the Atom value creators that, if executed properly, could capture some network utility value are hub routing, Gravity Bridge and other bridges, interchain security, layered security, brand name and community, Atom as base currency, staking derivatives, Gravity Dex, Emeris, interchain accounts, multiple hop packet routing, meta transactions, CNS, and possibly mergers and acquisitions. Speaking of execution, that's the main risk for Cosmos E, Cosmos B, and the Atom. To quickly point out, we understand that this fundamental risk section is short, but it doesn't mean that it is not one of the most important stanzas in the whole paper from an investment standpoint. The fundamental risk for Atom are execution, diverted community attention / focus on the likes of Atom as base money and other projects, ecosystem / interchain adoption of IBC, centralization / competition for the hub router, competition for Gravity Dex, faster implementation of IS / ILS by other bigger market cap chains, implementation of updates too fast, ecosystem competition / growth, Cosmos B / e-security, and did we say execution / timeline of the hub router, execution / timeline of Gravity Dex, execution / timeline of Gravity Bridge, execution / timeline of IS / ILS, execution / timeline of CNS, execution / timeline of Emeris, execution of staking derivatives, and finally, execution of Atom as base money. It's all about execution in our minds. Moving on. At the very, very beginning of our research on Cosmos B, we thought that the Cosmos B's evaluation method would function like Bitcoin or Ethereum, where some of the parts market cap can't exceed the overarching market cap of the main chain, otherwise known as the FAT protocol thesis. The two words that make the FAT protocol thesis dysfunctional for the Cosmos E is main chain. Within the Cosmos E, there's no chain to rule them all, or, in other words, no main chain. Cosmos E is a thin protocol, which is by design. The internet doesn't have a main server, computing power doesn't have a main frame, and the internet of blockchains won't have a main chain. History always rhymes. So how do we know what blockchain will be the biggest on the interchain? Introduce what we call the NUV extraction thesis, or the NUVE thesis. Side note, this thesis probably already exists, but we couldn't find it. NUVE states that the blockchain to capture the most NUV created from Metcalfe's law and network effect will be the biggest. The biggest chain will be the one with the best extraction method for NUV. We can't prove this, it's just our intuition. Moving on to chapter 9, the Beatles. Sooner or later, anyone could create a chain that does hub routing, or a company could create a chain to offer interchain security and interlayered security, or a competing bridge, or a DEX, or a CNS, or an Emeris. While the barrier of entry is high to making any of these products, each product could be replicated individually by different companies. But that's the thing. The barrier of entry into the Cosmos B product line is all of these products combined. Let us explain. If you have one product that offers 8 utilities versus a product that offers 1, which are you most likely to use or buy? Similarly, would you rather buy a single token using interchain accounts, or using staking derivatives, or tied to one hub router, or just tied to IS / ILS, or tied to a DEX, or tied to a bridge, or tied to CNS, or tied to an Emeris-like aggregator, or finally tied to base money? Or would you rather buy a single token that is using interchain accounts and using staking derivatives and tied to one hub router and tied to IS / ILS and tied to a DEX and tied to a bridge and tied to a CNS and tied to an Emeris-like aggregator and finally tied to a base money? I'm sounding like Cat in the Hat. Hopefully, the answer would be the latter. Remember, the world is not built off of or statements, as some may believe, but instead is created by and statements. It's simple. For owning one atom, you receive 8 utilities. From an investor standpoint, if a competitor offers a single one of those utilities listed and you purchase their asset, you receive 1 token for 1 utility. The question is, would you rather own one asset that does 8 things well or one asset that does 1? Atom, the currency, will stay durably long-term competitive because the sum of its parts offer more value than a single part, creating a high barrier of entry to another currency slash asset taking market share. Atom is like the Beatles, but why? The Beatles before the split were better than the Beatles after they split up. In order to create a great brand, you have to find great individual people that fill each other's deficiencies and are better as a whole than as individuals. You want to create a band like the Beatles in business from a product and team standpoint. The Cosmos E functions with the Beatles mentality in mind, and so do the Cosmos B and the Atom extraction methods. All of the products offered in both ecosystem and blockchain would not be great alone, but together they are amazing. To conclude, how I've been waiting to say those words and how maybe you have been waiting to hear 'em. We wrote about how the internet relates to blockchain, the difference between Cosmos E and Cosmos B, Metcalfe's law, network utility value, routing as a service, Gravity Bridge, security as a service, intangible advantages, base currency, Gravity Dex, Emeris, why atom lags, risks of Cosmos E slash B slash atom, NUVE thesis, atom utility, and finally the Beatles. Now to revisit the question at the beginning of this. Which chain will extract the most value? We believe that the most prominent chains will be the ones that corner cross-chain token liquidity or cross-chain information liquidity. Osmosis seems to be in a prime position to capture cross-chain token liquidity, but we think Atom and Cosmos B have a shot at being the largest because their goals are to extract value from cross-chain token liquidity and CCIL. We hope we dispelled any notion of Atom not being able to attain, accrue, and extract value from the Cosmos E. While there are execution risks, we remain optimistic because these teams delivered the first leg client agnostic protocol for blockchains. That enormous accomplishment of IBC allows us to be confident in their ability to deliver value to the Atom. Patience, conviction, and optimism will enable us to keep holding our investment. Once this value is delivered, we think Cosmos will have an amazing long-term durable competitive advantage. To paraphrase Warren Buffett, a durable competitive advantage isn't good, it's a must-have. Overall, we're again honored that you would even listen to the whole entire thing. So thank you for doing that. We had a blast writing this and recording it. So we hope you thoroughly enjoyed it. And again, if you have any objections to what we said or think we included incorrect information, we really do want to know genuinely. We're still learning like everyone else, and we're open to feedback. If you appreciated our effort here and would like to go the extra mile, our Atom only wallet address is in the description. If you need to contact us, our Twitters are in the description and emails. And with that being said, thank you for listening to the whole thing, and we hope to see you in future papers and videos.